Welcome to this week's G.I. Joe toy review, and this is week 3 of my 3-month Arctic theme, winter theme month. And we are looking at today at the Arctic Assault Trooper, codename Iceberg. And tune in next week as we do a very special Christmas Eve episode, but I'll announce that one later. But also on Friday of next week, Christmas Day, I will be doing a very special surprise review for Christmas Day for all my viewers that are watching this. So you get a very special Christmas present, which is a review on this channel. But before we get to Iceberg, we will be doing our shoutouts of the week. First at 41 South Loudon Street. We are going to shout out Back to the Media, where you can buy video games and systems, music, movies, toys, and collectibles and stuff. You can check them out on their website of www.backtothemedia.com. Go to backtothemedia@gmail.com. And you can find them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook with all their new and wonderful stuff. And even stuff all dating all the way back to the Atari, folks. Yep, that's it, the Atari, and all the way up to the modern stuff. Then, while you're in the neighborhood, go to the other side of the splash pad, the 115 South Loudon Street, which is Time Traveler Toys and Collectibles. And you can catch them on their email at timetravelertoys@gmail.com. You could also find them on Facebook. And you can buy and sell comics, toys, collectibles from Star Trek, He-Man, Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and others. And then go over to 80 Weems Lane to 4 Color Fantasies. Check out all their comic books and whatnot. And our cosplay, role-play and stuff. Collector supplies and more. And then if you're needing of any kind of counseling, whether it's premarital counseling, marital counseling, or just everyday around the way counseling, see Robert C. Brown at Healing Grace Counseling Services at 133 West Bescalvin Street in suite number 10. So go ahead and check him out. He's a really good guy, knows what he's talking about. So let's go ahead and look at Iceberg, starting off with the infamous file card. The Arctic Assault Trooper, codename Iceberg. File name Nash Clifton L. Primary military specialty is infantry. Secondary military specialty, cold weather survivor instructor. Birthplace Brownsville, Texas. His grade is an E6. And the text reads, Iceberg grew up in hot weather and hated it. He hated it. As soon as he was old enough to enlist, he signed up for duty in Alaska. Cold is his element. He's not happy until the mercury drops to well below 0. Iceberg possesses both the knowledge and ability to endure freezing temperatures. This is not to say he's impervious to the lethal effects of hypothermia. Hence, his specialty is specially insulated uniform with synthetic fur. He respects the cold and uses it to his advantage. Iceberg loves to thrash cobra and the mountain slopes on his snowboard. He knows everything about Arctic combat and survival. Give him an assault rifle and an icicle, and you'll have an igloo full of prisoners before nightfall. And the quote at the bottom says, I like my food like my enemies, frozen. She really talks about how much he hates the hot weather, and he's a Texas boy. But let's go look at his rest of his accessories, starting out with the file card, or with the figure stand, upraised G.I. Joe logo, codename Iceberg. And of course, he did his in white, which is pretty cool. And then he also has a little knife that goes in his sleeve on his pocket, but I'll show you that later. He has a attachment for his boogie board that hooks up to his backpack. And speaking of his backpack, this is his backpack. Bedroll at the bottom, nicely sculpted. Kind of plain, but with green highlights for the straps. He also has his assault rifle. Most of these winter guys get weapons that are white. He's got another assault rifle with white stripes going around it. He's got a mortar rocket launcher that comes with one rocket, and his infamous boogie board with a backpack attached to it. And his boogie board actually has a gimmick. If you press the button, this white button right there on the backpack, he's got little wings attached to it so it can fly as he's coming off a mountain. And they're easily retractable. The wings are. So let's go take a look at Iceberg. As you can tell, he's got his white hat, green goggles, white uniform. He's got the blue on the chest plate, so it's not really off coloring. It's literally that color blue. With green shoulder holster. There's the sleeve on his sleeve for his knife. Green straps going around down to his white boots. Kind of plain, but you know, it works. He's also got that furry collar right here. Kind of like what looks like what was on the Snow Serpent, which we'll be reviewing in February. So let's take a look at the articulation. His head rotates full 360 due to the restriction of the shoulder, first shoulder things. He lifts his arm about that high, but it can still rotate the full 360. Bends at the elbow, rotates at the elbow, and his wrist is swivel. He does have the ab crunch feature with the turning motion. And of course, my version, when I got him, his legs were already loose, but his legs can split to almost a full split. Lift up about 90 degrees. He's got the double knee joints. And of course, he's like most of every G.I. Joe figure I've seen in the modern era. His ankle pivots and can rotate the full 360. As like I said, his legs are my example was his legs are really loose. But let's take a look at Iceberg all geared up. And here's Iceberg all geared up. Now I'm lucky to get him to stand, you know, because of his loose legs. But other than that, Iceberg makes his first comic book appearance in issue number 68, which he doesn't have that much to do. His first animated appearance is in the season opener of season 2, Arise Serpentor Arise, the 5-part miniseries. Where he's a background feature, but he does have his own special episode later in the second season, where Dr. Mindbender turns him into a whale, but he gets turned back after eating raw meat, which is actually pretty cool. Weird, but cool. He's a plain Jane snowtrooper with with the Snow Serpent's shoulder fur. But because of his accessories, the boogie board that came with the version 2 vintage version, and all, you know, and the more weapons, the extra gun, the cooler looking gun than what his vintage did, the mortar launcher, the boogie board, I would say he's a middle tier figure, but he's still pretty cool. He was always one of my favorite characters. You know, I could relate to the Texas and the cold. But that was Iceberg. And tune in next week with our Christmas Eve episode, where we review the Winter Operations Specialist, Sub-Zero. Not the Mortal Kombat guy, but G.I. Joe's Sub-Zero, who actually had the name, when he was released in 1990, he had the name of Sub-Zero, and it was a year later that Mortal Kombat came out with the Sub-Zero Ninja, but more on that next week. But this has been Iceberg, and this has been Cobra Island, and as always on Cobra Island, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Tune in next week. I hope everybody's getting ready to have a very Merry Christmas. Tune in next week. I love y'all. Peace, and have a happy holiday.